Hello, namaste, and happy Friday to you. My name is KJ Hamus, and I'm excited to be bringing you this 75-minute slow flow plus yin practice. So we'll start with gentle movement to get into our body, and then we'll slowly transition to more stillness with our shapes, to use the stillness to help us get into the deeper layers of the body physically, mentally, and emotionally. So if you're just joining for the first time, or if you've been practicing with me before, go ahead and make sure you have a pillow, a blanket, and yoga blocks, or books, or anything else that could just bring the ground closer to you today. Those are all good things to have. So it's been an interesting week, I think, in the world. And everything like that. So I invite you as we start to move into this practice to allow yourselves to feel what you're feeling, to be right where you're at in the moment. And yeah, we'll go with that and we'll talk about it a bit more as we come in. So tonight, as we start to move into the asana part, our physical part of our practice, which is the third limb along the 8-limb path of yoga, we're actually going to get started in a wide-legged child's pose. So a couple of things just to help this initial child's pose, especially if your hips and your lower body are just feeling a little tight and a little tense. You may not know that till you get into the shape. That's perfectly fine, but just a couple of things to help. So your pillow or your blanket can be very helpful in this shape just to get you started off, hopefully in a more centered place, a place that is a bit more comfortable. So as you bring your knees as wide as the mat and you take your initial lean forward, you might notice that your hips lift off your ankles. Not a problem. What your hips have done, they just reached their end range of motion. So you can use your blanket or your pillow or yoga bolster and place it on your ankles at whatever height feels good to close that gap and provide a little cushion. You may also want to place something underneath the knees. And then if you lean forward here and you also find that your chest, your heart does not want to make contact with the floor, you can use your pillow here too. And even if your heart does make contact with the floor, feel free to put your pillow down for a little cushion, a little extra softness around your heart space. So go ahead and start to find your wide-legged child's pose and whatever will feel best for you. Bring one cheek to the mat or your forehead. I will likely be sitting up for most of this. Just, it's a little bit easier to do our centering for myself, not in child's pose. But so feel free to come into your child's pose as you're ready. I'm going to ring the bell to invite us into our practice. As we start to settle into our practice, before we let the outside world completely fade around us, we take time now to honor stewards of the land who've come before us, remembering that we are guests upon the land in which we dwell. And today, as we move into our practice, I'd like to remind us that yoga is an ancient practice that was cultivated and codified by the first and earliest practitioners of India. And we are able to share this practice because the teachers who've come up from the tradition are indigenous teachers who we continue to study with and bring us this practice that is a practice of liberation and a practice of unity. So it is more than just the shapes that we practice today. Taking one last notice of outside sounds, so sounds that are farther away and sounds that are closer to you. Start to let the ebb and the flow of those sounds move from outside to inside as you draw your hearing inward. Taking time along the way to notice all five senses. So hearing, touch, taste, smell, and even sight if the eyes are closed or open. And moving all of that outward, inward. Becoming aware of your breath. Noting the gentle rise of the inhale and the gentle natural fall of your exhale. It's not changing anything, not controlling anything, just noticing your breath in its natural state and how your breath is moving in the body. So we can use our breath today as our barometer. So we start to explore our own edge in the physical practice, our asana practice. And how can our breath help us come to unity or yoke, which is what yoga stands for. Beginning to observe your physical body. So feeling the weight of your body on the earth. Noticing the temperature in the room and how that feels on your skin. What is your connection to the earth, to the space or the physical space around you? Noting the physical space externally, but noticing your space internally. Where are you feeling the most bound? Where do you have more room to move? Where do you feel unbalanced versus balanced? And then from here, as you're ready, there's no rush. So starting now as you begin to take ownership, not only in your body, but in your practice, on your own time, begin to observe what emotions or how you're feeling. What emotions you're bringing with you into your mat, what emotions you're feeling today, or any other sensations that are starting to arise. It's important to name our feelings so that we can become more aware, but also so we know how our emotions can affect our practice and affect our safety in our own body and in our own space. And oftentimes that can tie in with our intuition, which we can think of as our gut feeling, our gut voice. So take a moment now to observe and to note and name. And we'll begin to move as you're ready to the space between your eyes, your third eye center. Observing how the thoughts are moving through the brain. So we work and practice to be an observer to those thoughts, to our thoughts. And as you're an observer to your own mind, I invite you to notice how the thoughts are maybe grabbing for your attention or asking for your involvement. Or are your thoughts just drifting on by, where you can sit back without attachment to them? And remember, everything is connected. So you may take a moment now to notice how your thoughts are affecting your breath, affecting your emotions, and affecting your physical body. As you do so, as you learn more about where you're at in this moment, it's maybe the time where you set your sankalpa or your intention for your practice. practice. This can have something deeper that you wish to cultivate and take off the mat with you. This could be something that you're working to overcome right now. And this can be just working on being present in the moment. So whatever your sankalpa is, I invite you to repeat it to yourself 3 times so it starts to integrate into your internal picture tonight. And then keeping an inner ear to our sensations, we're going to draw a connection between body, breath, and mind. As you breathe in, starting to breathe in deeply, expanding through the belly, the back, and the ribs. So a diaphragmatic breath, slow and steady. Breath travels in and down to the base of your spine. And as you breathe out, feeling the breath rise from the root, your Muladhara chakra at the base of your spine, all the way back out, either through the heart or through the crown of the head. If you're carrying a lot of thoughts with you today, I recommend feeling your breath leave from your heart so we don't invigorate the mind even more. And as you find this deep diaphragmatic breath and begin to feel it in your body, start to name your breath. Inhale and exhale with each movement of your breath. So we want to keep our eye on our breath even as we move through the shapes. Because if our breath stops, our prana, our life force can get stuck. And then we might feel more stuck when we're trying to create more space or unity within our own body. And that's how we might begin to observe what adjustments need to be made throughout our practice. Take a few more deep, slow breaths here. No rush. And then from your wide-legged child's pose, as you're ready, begin to find your way to downward facing dog, moving your props off to the side, sending your hips up to the sky, feeling yourself rooted through your hands and through your feet. Noticing if your shoulders want to make their way and stay up by your ears, see if you can roll them down your back. You may even turn your hands out slightly so your pointer finger is pointing toward each top corner, finding a more natural rotation of the shoulder blades. As you ground down through your feet, connect through the earth so that you can push your thighs to the back of the room. Engaging in stillness or engaging in movement, take what you need here. Letting neck hang heavy, but not move too far past the midline so your cervical spine is out of line with your neck. And continue to breathe, noting inhale and noting exhale. As you find stillness once again, inhale, bring both feet to center, big toes to touch, pausing as you exhale. Inhale, right leg will float to the sky, bend your knee, opening up your hips to the side of the room. Working to keep shoulders square to the front, so we're not opening up the chest just yet. We're thinking about opening up our hips. From here, taking 3 big hip circles clockwise, and then 3 big circles counterclockwise. On your inhale, straightening right leg. As you exhale, stepping right foot in between your hands. dropping back, knee down. This can be a great place for your blocks. On our inhale, we're going to find our way up into Anjaneyasana. So you may want to notice what's happening in your low back here. We're using this to work into our hips and try and release our hips. If our upper body, our middle spine, is out of line with our lower spine, you might feel some crunching. So as you push your hips forward, consider leaning your heart a little bit more forward too, keeping your spine in neutral. Widening your stance for more space. You can stay on your blocks, pressing left hip forward. Hands can come up to thigh, or hands can reach up nice and long. Take a deep, slow breath in. And as you exhale, draw your shoulders down your back. Heart shines. One more, inhale. And as you exhale, straighten front leg to come to a half split. Drawing your blocks, if you've got them, a little bit closer toward the body. You can always bring your hands down to the ground, whether that's on fingertips or flat, up to you. So thinking about opening up your back side of your body, opening up all our energy channels along that path. Draw your left hip forward, right hip back, and lengthen crown of head. Don't worry about heart needing to touch anything. It just feels the magnetic connection with your leg. We'll take a deep, slow breath in here. And a deep, slow breath out. Keeping the left hand planted, staying back in your half split. Inhale, right arm reaches up. So feeling sensation along the outside of your leg. Still drawing right hip back. You can even bring your thumb to your right hip. It's all right if the toes turn out a little bit. Look up at your hand if that feels good on your neck. Or down to your foot or the ground if that feels better. Again, don't let your neck drop out of stability with the rest of the spine. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, come back through center. Inhale, forward. Our Anjaneyasana, low runner's lunge. And then as you exhale, find your wide-legged child's pose. We'll take 5 breaths here in our child's pose. So take a moment to deepen your breath. Take a moment to observe how you feel in your body. If you need more length in your upper body, extend the arms out without grasping for the ground. And we'll take one more breath in. And deep breath out. As you inhale, curl toes under. And as you exhale, downward facing dog. Breathing here. On your inhale, draw heart forward, shoulders back, lift gaze. Exhale, round back, dome it in. Inhale, send shoulders forward, gaze up. Exhale, round back, dome it in. One last time, inhale. And exhale. Coming back to your downward facing dog. Inhale to bring big toes to touch. And pause for your exhale. As you inhale, send left leg up to the sky. And as you exhale, bend your knees, stack your hips. Feel as if your left heel is reaching toward your right shoulder. Hips stay square, shoulders stay square, excuse me, and just open up. From here, if it calls to you, take 3 big hip circles clockwise. And then 3 big circles counterclockwise. Inhale, straighten your leg. Exhale, step left foot in between your hands. Bring blocks to you. And then inhale, rise up. Anjaneyasana. So once again, notice your spine. If you're lifting up and you're feeling crunching in your back just to get into your hips, remember our hips are doing something else than just straight up and down. So we're going to work with the hips angle by allowing our chest to draw forward. That doesn't mean hunching, but just thinking heart led down. And then from here, sink into your hips. Widening your stance as you need to create more space. We're creating more space for our hips. We're creating more space for our belly so we can breathe. Hands can stay on blocks. Hands can come to thigh. Arms can reach up. You choose. Let's take 2 more breaths here as you press right hip flexor, so front right thigh forward. Press through the outer edge of left foot, top of back foot. 1 more deep inhale. As you exhale, extend left leg. Bring blocks closer to you if you're using them. Or hands can cupcake on the ground or go flat. Flexing foot. Bringing left hip back, right hip forward. When I do that, my hip naturally goes into an external rotation. That's fine. So if your body does something similar, externally or internally, work with that today. We're opening up the back side of our leg. Think about lengthening through crown of head. And as we press our heart down, we're just drawing it to feel the magnetic connection between our leg and our heart. We'll take 1 more breath in. And as you exhale, right hand stays planted, the left arm peels open. So as we press our hips back, keeping them square to the front, you should be feeling a stretch along the side of the leg. Flexing foot, or maybe even pointing foot. Decide what works best for you. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Inhale. As you exhale, come back to your half split. Inhale, Anjaneyasana, come forward. And then as you exhale, once again, find your child's pose. Sit your hips back. Extend arms nice and long. As we're here, on your next exhale, walk hands to the top left corner of the mat, placing right hand on top of left. Inhale is going to lengthen for a stretch in your side body. Exhale, draw your right hip closer to your heel. Don't worry about anything touching. Just notice the pull and the lengthening in your body. We'll take 1 more breath here. And deep breath out. Inhale to come through center. And then as you exhale, walk hands over to top right corner of the mat. Inhales, lengthen the spine. Exhale, send the left hip back towards your heel. Feeling as if you're grounding in through the earth. We'll take 1 more breath in. And breath out. Inhale, come through center. And as you exhale, curl toes under, lift hips, downward facing dog. Let's take a deep, slow breath in. And as you breathe out, let it go, open mouth. Take that as many times as you need. Thinking of it as a release of heat, if that is what you need, but also a release of that which is not serving you. How can you, in this moment, use your shapes to create more space in your body? On your next exhale, drawing your ribs together, activating your core. Breath in. As you exhale, step right foot in between your hands, drop back knee. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. This time bringing hands to thighs if you were using block. Always can keep your hands on your blocks if that feels better here. We'll breathe, sending left hip forward. Bringing your hands down to the ground. Inhale, uncurl left toes. As you exhale, find warrior two. So we'll take our back left foot and turn the toes toward the long edge of your mat as you come up. You're going to sink into your front knee, your right knee, whatever that means to you. And decide what arm variation feels best for you. You might feel strength here, or at heart center, or even on hips. As you use your breath, what is your edge for this shape? Finding length in your back leg. So sitting up nice and tall, but finding length here. So that could be a combination of pressing right knee forward and pressing through the outer edge of the back foot and drawing heels together. Or it could be sending heels farther apart as you rotate front thigh. Take a deep, slow breath in. And as you exhale, extended side angle. So forearm can come to thigh. We're lengthening through the side of our body, really thinking about our hip and our leg here. As you lift your arm up, you might feel more length if your fingertips are forward. You may feel more length if your hand is pressing up. Consider again how you press into your back foot and what length that can provide you along here. Hand can stay on thigh, hand can come down to a block at whatever level, or completely down to the ground. Whatever you choose, making sure that we're not crunching into our right side body. So lengthening through that, so even our ribs in this shape can open up and move our breath. What do you need from this shape right now? Take one more breath here and breath out. Inhale. As you exhale, goddess squat. So take your time. You can always mindfully straighten legs for a beat and then come back down. Sitting low as you would like. Knees pointed over middle toe. Bringing one hand to your back, one hand to your belly. Think about lifting and drawing down. It may not be a tuck, but it's just a reminder that we want to think about from the root of our spine, our Muladhara chakra. Breathing here. Inhale. Exhale. Breath in. As you exhale, turn toes forward and fold. Let your head hang heavy. Hinge from your hips. So to find your hinge, start by drawing some weight back. Notice your fold. And then shift your weight forward over your feet in fold. You're working to find equilibrium in your weight so you're over your hips and over your feet evenly. Blocks can come in very handy here to bring the ground closer to you. And decide if pressing through the outer edges of your feet is too much into your calves and not enough into your hamstrings. But maybe you need it more in your calves than you do in your hamstrings today. We'll take one more breath in and full breath out. On your inhale, once again, find your way over your right foot. As you exhale, send your back knee down. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Breathe here. And then as you exhale, plant your hands. Find your child's pose. Noticing how your back feels here. You might need some relief in your back. You can do that by drawing your knees closer together. Or you might find relief in your wide-legged child's pose. Up to you. Let's take 3 breaths here. So even as we're inviting a few asanas that are a bit more vigorous into our practice, we still want to take things nice and slow, listening to our body, finding rest. But if we think about the heat in our body or tapas, how can we use the heat to let go of that which does not serve us? So switching the narrative on being like, I am so hot, I'm so sweaty. This can be a way just to start to brush things off. However, if you get to the point where you're overheating or it's causing you harm, please do something to cool yourself down too. But if the first one describes you, how can you use your tapas, your internal fire, to serve you? Let's take one more breath in here. And deep breath out. Inhale. Exhale. Gently downward facing dog. Bringing big toes to touch. Inhale. And exhale. Deep breath in. Activate through your core. As you exhale, step left foot in between your hands. Drop right knee. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. So again, listening to your spine. This time you may find you start at 90 degrees with your legs to locate your neutral spine. Keeping that engagement, send your hips forward, noticing how they tilt. And then you may adjust your chest and your heart from there. Think about keeping your collarbone broad, even as you adjust which angle your heart is at. We'll take one more breath in, pressing right hip forward, and breath out. As you inhale, frame front foot, uncurl back toes. Exhale, warrior 2. So our hands are down on the ground as we come up to support us. Back toes face long edge of the mat. Left toes face forward short edge of your mat. Arms can extend out long. Hands can come to heart center or even on your hips. But find your arm variation that helps you feel strong, that can help you feel powerful. So not slouching over, but really broadening even here. Playing around with your edge, finding your length in your back leg, and the work in your front leg. Consider opening up your front thigh just a little bit more to work on your external rotation. We'll take a breath in. As you exhale, find your extended side angle. So first, I invite you to focus on your length in your spine. Crown of your head's going to reach forward, even if your gaze is down or your gaze is up. You don't need to move your neck out of alignment with the rest of your spine to make that movement work for you. Arm can be straight up, arm can be reaching forward. If you reach forward, go with your natural movement of your scapula, but not so much that your ear's hugging your shoulder. You can stay here, bring your hand down to a block or to the ground. Think about drawing heart open, left ribs under. So as you inhale, you expand the ribs. And as you exhale, you draw your ribs closer together. One more breath in and breath out. Inhale. As you exhale, come into your squat. Nice wide-legged squat here. One hand to belly, one hand to low back. Inhale, lifts. Exhale, sends the tailbone down. This does not have to be a super tuck of the hips. It can be a very minor movement. We'll breathe. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Inhale. As you exhale, turn toes forward and fold. Hands plant underneath your shoulders. Once again, pause here to find your distribution of your weight. So sending hips and weight back, and then sending hips and weight forward. So you notice where hips are at over your ankle. You can hinge directly from the hip bone. On your next inhale, find a flat back. And then as you exhale, take a small lunge. Inhale to come through center. Exhale to take a small lunge. Not full Skandasana. We're just going to move back and forth. Hands will stay on the ground. Adjust your toes in a way that feels natural as you move. We'll take one more each side. Then as you make your way back through center, on your inhale, frame your left foot. As you exhale, drop right knee down. Once again, inhale, Anjaneyasana. Send your hips forward. Think of activating through your low belly. So we're not sucking belly button in because that can cut off the flow of breath. And we don't want to do that. We want to feel all the muscles engaged. So think about lifting from your pelvic floor. Even as you send your heart a bit more forward to take crunch out of the low back. Inhale. As you exhale, plant hands. Find your child's pose. Let's take 5 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale. Downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, start to walk your feet and your hands toward the center of your mat, meeting in a forward fold. Let your head hang nice and heavy. You can rock back and forth on your feet, maybe even moving from side to side. As you do so, check in with all of your senses, noticing the space around you and how your senses are interacting with that space. And then draw your senses in. Coming back through center. Start to walk your feet out wide to the edge of your mat. And then on your exhale, we'll find Malasana, Yogi Squat, our first yin shape here. This can be a great place for a block to sit right underneath the seat. And you can also even create a block tower. So sitting on 2 blocks, finding our Malasana, Yogi Squat. So as we work here, you might be feeling this in the hips. We're using this to open up our hips and also strengthen our feet and our ankles. So we'll be here for 2 minutes. I'm with you this whole time. You got this. But always know that part of you got this means you're the authority. You can come out of this as often as you need to. Just do so mindfully and also with compassion for yourself. You can use your elbows if you'd like to open up your thighs, even straightening your spine. Or you can let your spine round a little bit more. Even consider the distribution of weight in your feet if you want to put more weight into the outer edges or on the inside. It's going to help you feel more open. Find a little bit more freedom in the shape. As you do so, if it feels right, closing your eyes or finding a soft point for your gaze. Coming back to your breath if it's been lost. We'll take a deep breath in, inhale. And as you let the breath out, name the exhale. Even with our lips closed, there's a slight gap in our teeth, so the jaw can release. And then on your next exhale, bring your hands behind you or come up for a moment. And then sit back, finding your way down to the ground. Free to extend your legs out long, shaking legs and feet. And start to make your way into your puddle pose. So if it's been a crazy week, let's use puddle pose as a great opening for more rest. For more relaxation, for more self-care. So on your back, on your belly, even your side, or if you want to stay seated in a meditation, that's great. Let your arms be right where they want to be, so that can be above head by sides, underneath the head as a pillow. Pause here. And see if you can begin to work toward feeling a release of pressure, whether that's external pressure, internal pressure. Anything that might be taking you away from your center, your unity, your yoga. Take one more full breath in and full breath out. Wherever you're at, mindfully and slowly begin to make your way up to your comfortable seat. No rush, take your time. From here, we'll move into our next yin shape. Come into frog pose, and there's several variations of frog pose. So as I go through the variations, start to notice which variation is going to meet you where you're at this evening. One is not better than the other. I think they're all just meeting places, so we can just check in with ourselves. So you may want 2 blocks in a pillow or your bolster nearby for this shape. And I'll demonstrate from the side to begin. So first variation is known as tadpole, and that is more or less our wide-legged child's pose. You may consider taking out your block or your pillow or your blanket this time or not, up to you. So that's that variation. Second variation is where we lift up a little bit more and you widen out your legs almost as wide as they want to go. You can place something underneath your heart. Your butt can even still be in the air here. Okay? And then finally, our frog pose is if we widen. Don't recommend doing this on the long edge of your mat so your knees aren't on a hard surface. Is where your legs are really expanded out to the sides. You can even bring your knees and your legs to a 90-degree angle. This is where our blocks and our bolsters can come in really handy. You can use just your blocks, or you can use your block and your pillow or your bolster, and let this be a place for your chest in any of the variations that I've showed so far. And then you can lean over in this manner. So the ones on the ground, you're really going to feel it in your external rotation of your legs, particularly probably getting into your adductor muscles. You may even feel it on the outside of your legs as well, but being mindful and gentle with your external rotation. So always feel free to take one of those variations. If being flat on the ground, even using props, just isn't serving you tonight, wall frog can be a great option. And this also can be done without the wall, but if you have a wall, I recommend it. So bringing your seat all the way up to the wall, and then drawing your feet to the wall, same as you would in frog, letting your knees and your legs externally rotate. Depending on how close your knees are to the earth or how troublesome it feels tonight to hold it up, use blocks to just add some extra support so you can really get in there. So choose your variation for this practice, taking what you need. If you're not already there, you may know the shape and just be completely ignoring me, which is 100% fine. And then as you settle in, we're going to be here for about 4 minutes. And I know 4 minutes may feel like forever. Try not to focus on the time. Think of the time as your friend and incrementally deepening into the shape if the body invites it. So once you find your shape, coming into your breath.
And your next exhale, slowly, gently take time to come out of your shape. So invite in any movement, invite in any sounds that escape your body, taking what you need as you come into your puddle pose. So really being gentle with your body in this puddle pose, taking up as much real estate as you need on your mat, in your space. Just softly settle in. You may start to notice a redistribution of energy in the body. This can also be known as the rebounding effect, where our energy, as it's been released, is sort of swirling around and bouncing off of everything. As you take this next puddle pose, check back in. Notice how you feel. Notice if you're feeling a bit more open or more bound. Start to observe what you might need as you move throughout the rest of this practice. And then as you're ready, start. So we're going to come into shoelace next. Shoelace or square pose. Again, deciding where your body is at.
For shoelace, notice which side could just use a little bit more attention to begin with. So our right side, our more active side, our sun energy, or your left side, your more passive side, your more moon energy, so more calming, cooling energy versus the right side, which is a more heated energy. And whatever side you want to start with, whatever your preference is, whatever you might need, cross that foot over the other. So for me, I'm going to do left over right. And then for shoelace, bring your heels in towards your hips, towards your seat. You can stay here, or you can use a block to find your forward fold. For square, you'll cross at the ankles, so your preference of whatever's first, and then you'll work your ankles away from each other, almost towards your knees. And then you'll take all of that and move it away from your body. So there's some space, almost as if you're creating a square shape in your hips and your legs. And then folding forward, you can consider flexing your feet a bit more. Both shapes work into the outer hip and into our glute muscles. So take your preference, take whatever serves you best, and allow yourself to sink into your shape over the duration of it. And from here, slowly begin to come on up. We're going to switch sides as you're ready. So if you took square pose, you'll just cross the other ankle over the top and fold forward. If you took shoelace, feel free to straighten your legs, draw the other foot on top, and then bring your heels towards towards your hips. Remember, each side is very different, so allow for those differences and adjust for those differences in a meaningful way. All right, stay here or fold forward. And then as you're ready on your next exhale, slowly start to come on up. Pausing here in a seated position for this puddle pose. So your legs can be extended out long. You can come into crisscross applesauce or any other seated shape that feels good for you. And just pause for a moment. Notice and take in what's happening in your body. And then we'll move into our final shape. We're going to come into deer pose to target the front side of our legs. I'm going to recommend a ramp this evening, whether that's just a ramp with your pillow or your bolster so your upper body can lay back on that, or you engage your blocks and placing one for your head, one in between your shoulder blades. You can also completely do away with the ramp coming into your forearms or all the way onto your back as well for deer pose. But we want to think about just a little bit of heart opening to counteract all the computer and sitting and hunching that we may be doing. So from here, we'll start with our right leg behind us. Top of foot can be on ground. Top of foot can be more out to the side like this, just not up. And then your left foot will come in and make its way towards your right thigh. It does not have to be completely attached. Your right ankle, you can place a towel or a blanket underneath it to help with support. support, just especially if you're on a hardwood floor or anything like that. And then from here, you'll begin to lean back. Again, you can do away with the ramp if you'd like and bring your blocks underneath your hands, your forearms. You can feel free to come all the way back or just use your pillow. So working toward feeling sensation in the front side of our right leg. And settling in here as you're ready. And then as you're ready on your exhale, slowly begin to rise on up. Take your time. Take any movements that you need before you switch sides. So this time your left foot will come behind you, right foot will come in. Ankle can be on the ground. Foot can be more out to a 90-degree angle or whatever angle is natural to you. And then feel free to place a towel or a blanket underneath the ankle just to support the joint. And then leaning back as you wish. A reminder that each side is going to be very different, especially in this shape. And as you sit, you might notice if you cross your legs, you favor one side over the other, and that can affect any sensations that you're feeling. And here are any other patterns that are in your body and that you create. So taking several deep breaths in your shape. And just sinking on in.
From here, as you're ready, slowly begin to rise on up. As you move into Shavasana, note that you can keep your ramp and take more of a supported fish or supported butterfly pose. You can also move this completely off to the side and come onto your back, onto your belly, or you can bring legs up against a wall for our final resting shape. So take what is going to feel best for you in your body. And as you settle in, I invite you to take 3 to 4 deep, slow breaths in through the nose and out through your mouth. Feeling your body release onto the earth or onto your props. As you let go, noticing there's a bit more rest, release in your body.
Begin to reawaken your senses, inviting some gentle movement back into your body, wiggling fingers and toes, or moving even head from side to side. Wherever you're at, taking your time, knowing you can stay here if you need to, finding your way up to a comfortable seat at the top of the mat. And this can be sitting on a block, a pillow, or even your blanket. And as you find your comfortable seat, find a connection to yourself in a place that could use some love, your heart space, your belly, anywhere else, or even to the earth. You can bring fingertips down or even just peace fingers. You're feeling the connection between your practice, between yourself, and the ground in which you sit on. How can you have more compassion for yourself moving into this weekend? How can we have a bit more compassion for others, especially those we don't agree with? Can we show friendliness to those who are friendly? Can we show love to those who might need a little extra? And can we hold ourselves in the same way? Be the positive change you wish to see in the world. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Thank you so much for joining me on this Friday evening. I hope you have a great and fabulous weekend, and I look forward to practicing with you again very, very soon.